What's going on, guys? I'm Magician here, and I'm bringing you in my first ever YouTube video. And today's video is going to be a solo method on how to kill one of the hardest bosses that's ever walked RuneScape's surface. And if you can't tell already from where I'm standing, that is the Corporeal Beast. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so before we get started into the guide, I want to give a quick disclaimer. Soloing Corp probably isn't the most ideal thing for normal players, as doing it in groups is quite a bit quicker. However, if you're an Iron Man, you have to solo Corp, and that's where this method is going to come in handy. That being said, it is still pretty rewarding, even if you're a normal player, seeing a sigil on the ground in your name and knowing you don't have to share it. This method was not developed or discovered by me. It was originally developed by Jelly Sucks, and then Doggoat had popularized it. Since then, I personally saw Foe streaming this non-stop, also congrats, and that was where I kind of developed my own tweak on things, seeing what Foe did, kind of using some of the stuff that I did, and that's where I developed how I personally do this. That being said, what gear and how I do things is not the best way or the only way. Feel free to modify and tweak things that you see fit. Jumping in straight to the requirements, the bare minimum combat requirements that I would recommend are 85 in attack, strength, and defense, and also at least 70 prayer. However, anything higher is going to be highly recommended, as it will speed up kills and allow you to get more loot more quickly. Following that, you are going to need bare minimum 83 construction, because this is the lowest level that you can then boost to get the ornate rejuvenation pool, which this is what makes this method completely viable, allowing you to teleport home, restoring your spec, and going back and speccing out Corp. Paired with that, you're also going to need a jewelry box in your house. The first one will do just fine, as all you need in there is a games necklace, because this is what's going to allow you to come in, restore spec, tele back to Corp very quickly. So moving on to combat equipment. The first three weapons we're going to be needing are the Dragon Warhammer, Arclight, and the Bandos Godsword. Each one of these weapons has a unique ability of draining Corp's stats down to essentially nothing, rendering Corp into a giant potato. But the order matters. The first weapon we'll be starting out with is the Dragon Warhammer. The Dragon Warhammer's special attack ability drains the opponent's defense by 30%. So, followed with 3 to 4 specs, we will be draining Corp's defense to essentially nothing. That being, they do have to be successful hits. It doesn't matter what the damage is, but as long as it's a red splat, you're in the clear. Then we'll be moving on to the Arclight, and the Arclight special attack ability drains the attack, strength, and defense of the opponent by 5% per successful hit given. So just like the Dragon Warhammer, we do need to at least hit a 1 damage on Corp to render the special attack useful. After we have spec'd Corp 20 times, the rest of the defense and the entirety of the attack and strength will be lowered down to nothing. And moving on to the final special attack weapon we will be using, which is the Bandos Godsword. The Bandos Godsword also drains combat stats, but in a very specific way. It does it in an order through defense, strength, prayer, attack, magic, and then range. And since we have already drained Corp's attack, strength, and defense down to essentially nothing, and prayer is irrelevant in this case, it will be targeting magic. And the Bandos Godsword does not drain based on special attack, it drains based on damage given. So that's why we want to aim for 200 to 250 damage dealt to drain down Corp's magic level to a very tolerable level that we could protect from magic with. So in order to actually kill Corp, you're going to need a Zamorakian Spear. This is because Corp is almost immune to any other weapon in RuneScape other than spears and halberds. Every other weapon used, it will half the damage dealt, whereas the spears and halberds, it gives full damage. And the best in slot spear is the Zamorakian Spear. Honestly, there's no really other way to kill Corp without one, so if you do not have one, you're definitely going to need to get one in order to successfully kill Corp. And then finally, I would highly recommend to bring a halberd. Either a dragon or a crystal will do just fine. It just allows you to get kills done a little bit quicker, because those weapons, like I said earlier, do provide full damage, and you're able to spec it a handful of times throughout the kill, making sure that the kill does speed up a little bit more. Alrighty, and now we're going to be taking a look at the best suited armor to use for this method. Ideally, we want to optimize the best bonus that we can get to match the style of combat that each weapon uses. So for the Dragon Warhammer and the Bandos Godsword, they use Crush, so we'd want to use the best armor that we can to provide the best Crush bonus. And for the Arclight, the same goes with Slash, and for the actual kill, we're going to be looking for the best stab bonus we can achieve. So when it comes to the actual gear that I personally use, it's definitely not the best, and it's probably going to change eventually, and it definitely has changed since I started. But I start with the base of Carol's Leather Top for extra magic defense, Bandos Tassets, Barrow's Gloves, and Primordial Boots alongside a Torture Amulet. Then for Crush bonus, I'll swap out for a Dwarven Helm, a Mythical Cape, and a Tyrannical Ring. And then for the Slash, I'll swap out for a Warrior Helm, a Warrior Ring, and a Fire Cape. Me personally, I don't really focus on stab bonus, I just kind of go for the best melee gear I have, in which in this case is a Serpentine Helm, a Berserker Ring, and a Fire Cape. A lot of people do choose to use Void Melee, however. I personally do not have the Void Melee Helm and cannot be bothered to go get it, but it is a very viable and reliable option to use. So as far as your inventory is going to go, once you have your gear decided that you're going to bring, go ahead and add on a cannon and some cannonballs, and I'm going to explain later as to why you need those. And then make sure you have some house teleports, whether that's the teleport tabs or a rune pouch with the runes. And then make sure you have a super attack and super strength or a combat potion. I bring a combat potion and a super attack, so in between I could still have my attack raised high without wasting a combat potion. And then whatever inventory room you have left, go ahead and bring food, because once we go ahead and spec Corp down, we're going to head to the bank, grab a few prayer pots, and then come back. And once you find an open world, go ahead and make sure you're potted, and we're going to enter the cave. Go ahead and set your quick prayers to Piety, Preserve, if you have it. If you don't, you should get it, and Protect from Magic. So go ahead and turn your prayers on. I turn Auto Retaliate off, and we're going to go through, and we're going to place our cannon 2 squares to the right and 1 square down from this grave right here. It's going to be on this little mound of dirt, and there's a very specific reason we place it here. It's because eventually we're going to lure Corp into this corner, and it's just an easy place to go ahead and fire the cannon once the core spawns. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention was it's very useful if you're on either OS Buddy or RuneLite, because both clients have a plugin that allows you to track how many times you've used a special attack on the Bandos Godsword, the Dragon Warhammer, and the Arclight. So go ahead and get one of those clients and have it enabled, and it makes it so you don't have to count it anymore. So once you set your cannon, go ahead and restore your stats, and we're going to head back and spec Corp down 3 times with the Dragon Warhammer, making sure that every single hit hits successfully, and then we'll transfer on to the Arclight. And once your Dragon Warhammer specs have hit, go ahead and transfer over to your Slash gear and head back, and we're going to head and hit Corp 20 times with the Arclight, making sure that everyone is a successful hit. Alrighty, and once you have all of your Arclight hits, go ahead and switch over to your Crush gear, and then make sure that your Bandos Godsword is on Smash, because that's the actual Crush combat style. And then we're going to go ahead and go back and do 200 to 250 damage to Corp, and the spec counter will count it out for us. And that should just about do it for BGS damage. So now would be a good time to go ahead and head to the bank, grab a few prayer potions, and then head back to the cave for the last part. Alright, and make sure you have all the gear on that you're going to kill Corp with. Then we're going to go ahead and pot up, put protection from magic on. We're going to run in and make sure Corp sees us. And then we're going to run out. And this is going to make sure that Corp is going to run right to the entrance, allowing us to pin him in the corner. Makes it a little bit more easier to handle so he doesn't run away everywhere. I mean, that being said, he can still move, but regardless, it makes it a little bit easier. So turn your quick prayers on, go ahead and go through, attack Corp. Then I just try and stand between my cannon and Corp, making sure to just stay still so it doesn't move as much as possible. And feel free to go ahead and use your special attack with your halberd periodically throughout the kill. It kind of gives a little bit more damage boost, and you'll gain spec back slowly, so you should be able to get a few specs in. So, this little purple guy is the whole reason we bring our cannon. This is a dark energy core, and anytime you hit a 32 or higher, it has a 1 in 8 times chance to spawn. And what we do here is get the core to land in a double hit cannon spot, so when it jumps in the air, the cannon's going to hit a cannonball and it's going to kill it. So if you don't kill the core while it's mid-air, it has a chance of respawning again. It'll just turn into ash. You want to make sure that it gets killed mid-air, and that's what the cannon's for. And here we are, just about to wrap up our kill. So it should be quick and painless. I didn't use any supplies. I used barely 2 prayer potions. It might be a long and tedious process to drain its stats down, but it makes Corp so much more manageable. Yeah, it might not be as quick as doing group Corp, but it's a little bit more rewarding. You get the drop all to yourself. When it's Onyx Bolts, that's 1.5 mil just to you. Well deserved. Except for when your drop's 250 soul runes. Oh well. Anyways guys, thank you so much for checking out my first ever YouTube video. This was actually my first RuneScape guide as well, so if you enjoyed it, please like it below and subscribe, and I really hope that this video at least helped one person get their first Corp kill.